Hi, everyone. So, this is an impromptu conscious commentary. I like to do these every once in a while, and not just as the spirit moves me, but as the subject moves me. And I couldn't resist coming to you today after what I would call just today, and it's only as I'm recording this about noon on the East Coast on Saturday. Oh my gosh, you guys, the synchronicities, I'm calling the synchronicity spike. And is it happening to you? Because it's happening to me. Just today, I have had probably, and like I said, it's only about noontime here, half a dozen synchronicities. So what on earth is, I always say, what on earth or off is going on? And that's what I wanted to explore with you today. And I wanted to get this done because, and get it uploaded to you specifically for our YouTube audience, because I want to put the question out to you. Now, although I haven't posted anything here on this channel, I have been talking about on my Facebook page this extraordinary barrage, is what I would call it, of synchronicity occurrences that have been happening for about 4 weeks. Now, I have been talking about, in fact, I've had a couple of shows dedicated to the energies of 2020, January in particular, where this supposed cosmic conjunction took place, centered at Uluru in Australia, where I was. Many of you know that. But the bottom line is this. I'm going to have to say, forgive the cliche, the proof is in the pudding, because something is going on. Now, rather than me going into specific examples, and maybe I can at a later time, or even if you want to email me, I can let you know some of the things that have happened to me, but I'll give you a couple of examples, just generally speaking. I just want to give you an idea of the flavor of how synchronicity has been coming through for me. Now, right off the bat, let's get this out of the way. The double numbers, the triple numbers, the 444, the 1111, absolutely, 222, 333, that has been sort of in there, in that whole, call it stew of synchronicity of late. I've had sort of ebbs and flows of those in the past for years, but indicative of this period that I'm calling the synchronicity spike, that's been happening. However, and this is a big one that I really want to talk about, and let's see if I can explain it. Have you ever, let's say you're in the kitchen and you're preparing a meal and you have your TV on and you're watching, it doesn't matter. And you may be thinking to yourself, or like me, I admit I talk out loud sometimes because I'm a talker. Well, tonight I think I'm going to make Cornish game hens. I love to cook, by the way. And I may or may not have a food channel on, but lo and behold, invariably I will hear somebody say Cornish game hens. This has happened. Now, this has happened to me in the past. This has happened really for years off and on, but it is happening, I am telling you, like nobody's business in the last several weeks. And it is spiking. It's going up for me, as I say, exponentially. So basically, either you'll have a thought, or you may be speaking something out loud, or maybe you're talking to somebody else, wherever it is. And either the TV is on, maybe your computer's on, or you're surfing the net, and what you're thinking or saying, forget about saying, just thinking it will pop up. Well, now look, we know that there's a whole nother possible scenario going on in terms of picking up your surfing habits, right? We know that. But that aside, let's put that aside for a minute and imagine that if there is something going on between us as corporeal beings who are very much alive and conscious and connected, and that's the key word here, to all things, whether other people, places, things, technology. And that's a big thing I want to kind of emphasize. If we have time, I'm going to look at the clock because I'm not going to go over 15 minutes. I'm going to try my best. But the bottom line is, for me, this has been happening way too much we know it's not chance. We know it's synchronicity. The question is, what is the mechanism that is making this so? Did we actually go through some sort of an exponential shift in energy, in frequency, in vibration on this planet, perhaps in the entire cosmos, of which we are having some sort of relationship with? Are we falling into greater resonance with the planetary body and that of the greater cosmos? These are the questions that I have because, again, now look, we all have synchronicity. I love to talk about it. As a matter of fact, you may remember I did a quick sort of vlogging, at the time I called it video blog, about 4 or 5 years ago. Maybe I'll put a link so you can see it, where I talked about synchronicity. And again, this flurry of what I've called synchronicity clusters that had been happening to me, and decided to research it a little bit. So check that out if you have a chance. That was several years ago. They happen to all people all of the time. But when they come in such quick succession, a barrage, a spike, you have to ask yourself what's going on. Now, again, I don't want to spend too much time talking about the specific synchronicities, but we could maybe talk about the style by which they're coming through. And this is the point that I wanted to bring up in terms of how technology may be playing a role in this, whether this is something having to do with the artificial connectedness between us and technology, or something outside of that. Regardless of the impetus, it's happening. I have long wanted to explore in more depth the role that particularly our high-speed technology is playing in our own consciousness. It's a whole nother can of worms. But let's assume, for argument's sake, that there is some sort of a natural process that's going on here, and that it's between us and the universe, but somehow it is utilizing the speed by which we're using technology and the frequency to bring that union together. That, I can't say if that's the case, but that's certainly worth exploring. And again, I have to emphasize, why is it that after this sort of demarcation point, if you will, or conjunction that was said to take place on January 12th, that at some level, whether consciously or unconsciously, is affecting all of us? I find it quite interesting that these synchronicities have been happening so frequently for me since that time. I would not be talking to you today if I didn't think there was something to talk about. I really do feel that what's going on here is something worth talking about, because the question is, guys, if we are living at a time, if we've passed this point and have accelerated the frequency of ourselves, as well as recognizing that the frequency has been raised on the planet, here's the big question: how can we positively leverage it? How can we utilize this? Are we saying here that the energies are so potent right now that, and we're seeing this by the number of synchronicity that may be coming into your life, that we can also leverage other aspects of what is called ESP, extrasensory perception, including telepathy, precognition, intuition. This is where we cross the line between having these things happen to us and consciously working with it to make our lives better, right? I thought about that. I thought to myself, if these synchronicities are coming in at such a fast rate during this period of time, I wonder if the potency of my consciously trying to send a message to someone telepathically, or to consciously engage my intuition, or be able to see into the quote-unquote future, I wonder if that too would be more effective. So I'm kind of thinking about some experiments that if I come up with any, I need a little bit of time. Like I said, I really wanted to take the time, short period of time, to come to you today to talk about what the heck is going on with me, if it's going on with you, and what can we do with this, journeyers, because I think it's kind of huge if you're paying attention. So let's see the feedback we get here. And if I get enough, I may come back to you. I'm going to give this some thought and say, okay, I pretty much established that something has shifted, whether subtle or not so subtle. For me, it's not so subtle. If that's the case, we're in a period of potency. Let's just call it that. What else can we do with it? Lord knows we need all the help we can get. And I'm all for experimentation. It's free. It's something that we can do, giving it some thought, and let's see what we can do. I guarantee you I'm going to try a couple of experiments utilizing, assuming that we're in this potent time of this spike of energy, that it can be leveraged positively, not to have power over anyone, just empowering ourselves. So that's that. Let's see if there's anything else. I'm within that 15 minutes, I think. That's a good thing. I want to hear from you. Oh, here's something else I want to bring up. I do want to hear from you, but let's talk about the Schumann resonance for a minute. Are you all familiar with that? I am by no means an expert on what that is, but it has to do with monitoring what I like to refer to as the heartbeat of our planet. It's said that all planets carry its own Hertz frequency as well as sound, and that of our planet, as far as I know, has been at a fairly constant for many years of about 7.8 Hertz. Interestingly, it's also said that our own heartbeat is naturally set at about 7.8 Hertz, which means there is a natural resonance between us as physical beings and our planet. However, now again, I'm taking a chance because I may be speaking a little bit out of school, but I know a little bit about this resonance. There's a website that I'm going to put a link to. I cannot call the name of it offhand, that monitors on a daily basis the resonance, the frequency of the planet. And it's been talked about. It's all over YouTube and beyond on the internet, in which there have been these really anomalous spikes in the frequency, in some cases going up to 18, 20, maybe even more Hertz, which means there's an escalation of energy. Escalation of energy. I guess that's the easiest way to put it. That's a whole nother subject, but what I do is I go there periodically to see if there are any sort of out of characteristic spikes on a given day, particularly when I'm having these explosion of just strangeness, synchronicity in this case. I have not gone today because I wanted to hurry up, get on camera and talk to you guys. I'm going to go check it out and see. Be very interesting to see if there have been spikes or if it's been relatively constant. I don't know. So we're going to check that out. Okay, I'm watching this time. I'm approaching 15 minutes. So listen, conscious commentary. I'm doing it a little bit different, as you can see. I want to really just look at you and talk to you and hear from you, most importantly. We are going to continue with the regular show, of course, every Wednesday. We're going to 2 p.m. Eastern time. But the conscious commentary, it's as the subject warrants. So for that, I want to say to you this. Can you please subscribe to Higher Journeys? You know the drill. Subscribe to Higher Journeys, particularly because if you hit the notification bell, you know how it goes. You will get notified every time an episode airs, particularly when I do these conscious commentaries, because you never know when it's going to be. It's a Saturday, it's a little afternoon at this point, and I had to talk to you to tell you what's going on. So on that note, I think I've covered just about everything. Keep track of your synchronicity and other stuff like this, and let me know in the comments below what's happening with you. What the heck is going on? And when I come back to you, I am going to work on this to see if I can come up with a couple of experiments to see if we're in this potent time. Not if, we are. If it can be leveraged so we can help ourselves. All right, journeyers, that's it. I'm out. I will talk to you soon. Bye.